if you look at the past, when sampling started, it was all about that. That's what DJs were doing. DJs were just picking out breaks to create a loop, and there wasn't much apart from that sample selection and filtering. So in a way, I suppose we're still DJs, because I'm still DJing in a way that I am just collecting selections of samples and then connecting it with drums. So I'm doing the same work DJs were doing when they started hip hop. So it's still the same process. And I went through this whole huge phase of trying different things. And I'm not saying that's wrong, that's right, because you need to try different things. But I went through this whole thing of mixing and mastering and just wasting so much time trying to find the correct sample, trying to work a sample, thinking that that compression or that EQing or the reverb or the delay or the phasing or the whatever effect I was doing was going to take my sample to a different place. But I'm the more I sample, the more I cut is literally down to sample selection, and it has nothing to do with effects or anything. A big part of making sample beats is just to listen to it, and you have to listen to a lot of samples. You have to try a lot of samples. There's nothing wrong with the sample you selected. It's just that you probably selected the wrong sample. So this is a fun thing that, you know, more and more I'm just letting things really flow, and I'm not trying to actually grab samples. I'm not trying to look for samples. I'm just letting samples. I'm just trying to listen to samples, and if there's something that resonates with me, I use that. I'm not thinking about I need a piano. I'm not thinking about I need a horn. I'm just letting things. I'm just listening to stuff, and whatever feels like it's the right sample to pick, I pick that. I don't care if it's a horn, if it's nothing. I'm more into frequencies nowadays than I am into actual samples. So that's a big part of my sample selection as well. So when I start a beat, I go for, let me make something, I go for the drums, I start with a drum loop, then I go for samples that contain a heavy bass or are richer, this is the right, I search for samples that have richer low frequencies with them. So that's how I kind of look at sampling nowadays. My sound selection is purely based off of frequencies. I don't go and say I want a bass. No, I just listen to samples and I listen to stuff that is rich on the low end. Then I look for samples that I can layer over that initial sample that I've picked. And so when I'm looking for that, I'm looking for samples that are richer in the higher frequencies. And so I can use a high pass and just put everything together. So my sample selection nowadays is a lot to do with frequencies more than me actually trying to figure out, me searching for, oh, I need a piano sample, and I'm always searching for that piano sample. And what ends up happening is that I lose a bunch of time trying to find the perfect piano sample, and most of the times I'm never satisfied with any piano sample because I have something in my head that actually doesn't exist. And I think that's also a problem that many of you have. I know I had that problem. I don't have it anymore because I don't search for samples for instruments. I sample based on frequencies. And that, I think, helps me a lot to compose. It helps me a lot to put together a loop that works without stressing about what samples I need. Right, so imagine I'm picking a sample that has a bass and a piano. That's kind of normally how I start. I go for samples like that have a low, I go for samples that have rich low end. Normally, it's something that it's probably something with chords and a bass in it, or just chords or something like that. And then after that, I go for samples that are on the higher frequencies. And it could be really anything from vibraphones to Rhodes on the higher keys, to horns, to flutes, to saxophone, to harps, to anything really that is on a higher frequency. So I just listen to a bunch of stuff, and I'm not looking for a specific instrument at all. I don't care. I only search for samples that are in higher frequencies, so I can layer on top of my first layer, which has a lot of low end. So that's a lot of my sample selection. That's how I'm putting beats together nowadays, and it works really well because music is nothing more than frequencies put together. That's why a band has a drum, a bass, a guitar, and a vocal, because it doesn't have two basses. It doesn't. Sometimes it has two guitars, which works really well. Normally, instruments with higher frequencies tend to work better than instruments with lower frequencies, and that's why you only have a bass in the group. But in any case, I wanted to share that idea, that thought on how my actual production is looking nowadays. So yeah, I wanted to share that with you, and hopefully this is good content. I don't know. You guys let me know. Peace. I'm gonna go make some music, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.